Calvin Castine in the Adirondack room at Butcher Block on June 12th, I think it is today.
June 12th.
2019.
June 12th, yeah.
And we are talking to
Ryan Lee. I'm the president of AdkYP, and I work for Hickok and Boardman Insurance Group.
Okay. So AdkYP, what? What
Yep.
is that?
The acronym is AdkYP for Adirondack Young Professionals.
And what is an Adirondack? I know what an Adirondack is.
Yeah, right.
What's a young professional?
So we are a non-profit organization of people who I say are young in spirit.
You have to say it?
Anybody can say it.
Okay.
But, so there's no real age bracket, in the term young, but our goal is to attract and retain young people to this area. So when the organization started around 15 years ago, they identified a problem, and that problem was that a lot of young people were leaving this area. And so this is a nonprofit trying to play its part in keeping some people here. So we do networking events, we have some fun social events, we do flag football, bowling, sometimes we've gone skiing. So it's a good mix of professional opportunity and social friend opportunity.
Okay. So you say young is a state of mind, but what's your oldest member, would you say?
Our oldest member, we've probably got some members, probably in their 40s.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So you don't throw them out once they
Nope. They can stay as long as they want. Yep, exactly.
You just kind of shun them, stick them in a corner.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and how young can you be to join?
We typically ask for people to be 18 or older. If they are in college, we sort of have some events with partnering with the colleges locally, and we kind of draw a little bit of a line in the sand there because we do have a lot of faculty and staff from the colleges who are members, and they look forward to having this opportunity to be kind of away from the students for a while. But we do engage with students, and typically it's 18 or older.
Okay, and what's a professional? If you play AA baseball, you're a professional, but what do you define as a professional?
Right, a professional, that's a good question. So a professional in our eyes is anyone who's working on professional connections, looking to do better in the workplace. We have a lot of people in the trades, we have a lot of people in professional finance or accounting or insurance or sales in general, nonprofits. We really keep that as broad as possible to try and be as inclusive and welcoming as possible.
Have you ever declined somebody to join?
Never declined anybody to join.
And if someone is young and interested, what do they do?
They check us out on the web, adkyp.org, or we're also on Facebook. And our annual membership is $20, and it gets them in free to all of our events, a bunch of other little opportunities along the way to get some benefits as well. And it's that simple. Reach out to us on the web.
Okay, and you have regular meetings, or what do you do?
We do meetings probably monthly. We have major events probably quarterly, like this one, and they can show up to all of them, a couple of them, but you can see very quickly that $20, if you're charging $5 or so for each event, becomes a pretty good cost savings to just become a member.
Oh, yeah, but this event tonight, which is on sustainable energy, is that what the topic is?
Yeah, so tonight's event is our economic forum, the 12th one we've ever done, and it's our biggest event of the year. We get a lot of politicians and business leaders to support us, but we have a panel of experts for a particular topic come in and answer questions about that topic. We've had a wide variety of topics in the past. This evening's topic is, like you said, green energy, sustainability, and kind of how people can play their part, or what companies are doing to play their part in the area. And we got 6 great panelists here, and we're looking forward to it. So.
Okay, how will the format be? I know Michael Cashman, the town supervisor in Plattsburgh, is going to be your moderator, but is each person going to talk, and questions from the audience?
Yeah, great question. So the format, it'll start off with a welcome from me, and then from there I'll pass it over to Mike Cashman, who will facilitate some questions and give each panelist an opportunity to answer those questions. So it'll get a dialogue going for about 30 minutes, and we have some planned questions there. And then for the second half of the evening, we're going to give it up to the crowd or the audience to have a Q&A. So if they have questions that are really bugging them or they're curious about, they can ask the panelists directly.
Okay, so any idea on a time frame?
We'll probably be an hour and a half tonight. Yeah.
Okay. So again, if people want to join, go to Facebook, go to your website, and
Exactly.
AdkYP.
You got it. Exactly.
Adirondack Young Professionals, and I assume that's not part of a larger group. It's just itself, right?
We are our own 501c3 organization. Yeah. So any donations that sponsors make, they're tax exempt, and we have our own number for that. So.
Okay. Anything else I should know?
That's it. I appreciate you being here.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be somewhere. Might as well be here, right? All right. Nice meeting you, Ryan.
Great to meet you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Ryan Lee, the head of the Adirondack YP.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. Really appreciate you coming out. I hope we're going to have some great conversations. This is the 12th annual Economic Forum for AdkYP. What is that acronym? The Adirondack Young Professionals. Really excited to be here. We've been doing this for quite a while, and the event has really built into something impressive, and we have a lot of great conversations, and I hope you find it within yourself to participate in the second half. If you think of questions along the way, don't be shy. There will be an opportunity for Q&A with our fine panelists, who will all introduce themselves to you in a little bit. Quick intro on me. My name is Ryan Lee. I work professionally for Hickok and Boardman Insurance Group, but I'm the president of AdkYP currently. Thank you. Been doing that for 3 years, and pretty soon you will meet the board members. I'll ask them to stand, and we have a new slate of officers coming to you soon as well. So we got a really good group that put this event together for you. We're really happy to be here. What does AdkYP do? Maybe this is your first event, you're not sure what we're about. What is this whole thing about? AdkYP's mission is to attract and retain young people to this area. So, quite a while ago, this organization started because a group of people found it within themselves that there was a problem. We were losing young people in this area. And that's a huge economic driver to the whole economy growing in this region. So they put their heads together and they started this organization called Adirondack Young Professionals with the mission of attracting and emphasis on retaining young people. How do we do that? We have networking events that are structured, some are unstructured. We have some social events, just pop-ups that are for fun. You can come hang out with friends, make some business connections. We've done stuff like flag football tournaments for charity. We've partnered with nonprofits to do civic service for them. We've done some work with SUNY Plattsburgh to help the students feel welcome here and find some connections beyond the classroom, and doing a lot of good stuff. So if you're interested in joining and you're not a member, it's $20 a year to be a part of AdkYP. There's a lot of benefits to that, and you certainly, if you come multiple times, you'll see the benefit of that because members get in free every time. And there's a lot of other perks along the way, but think about it. And if you are not a member, you paid $5 to get in, we'll put that $5 towards the 20. So you only got to pay $15 to become a member. So think about it. We'd really love to have you join. Also, quick shout out, if you are in charge of a business or you know somebody at your business who makes these decisions, AdkYP has corporate members. $250 a year. Every person within that organization that wants to participate as a member of AdkYP can come for free. So great incentive for an employer to give back to the young people in the organization and have a corporate membership, $250. Couple more thank yous. We had a ton of sponsors show up and support this event, but I want to give a real quick shout out to our top 3 sponsors, which was Casella Waste, Youth First Federal Credit Union, and ETS. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much, and that helps us continue moving towards that mission of attracting and retaining young people in this area. Also, if you haven't thanked them yet, let's thank the Butcher Block for an awesome spread of food and all that. If you are a board member of AdkYP, please stand. Give these people a round of applause because I'm the one standing up here like a goof, saying like, look at all the cool stuff we do, but they do it. I don't do anything. Okay. So if you're interested in being on the board, starting 7/1, our fiscal year, July 1st, Matt Craig is actually going to be our next president. So talk to him. He's in charge. All right, and lastly, I'd like to do a round of applause for all of our awesome panelists who chose to volunteer their time this evening to share their knowledge and expertise with us. Let's give them a round of applause. So again, enjoy yourself, enjoy the food, restrooms right around the back over there, and don't be shy, come up with questions as we pivot to that section of the program. And we also do have a giveaway, which we will give away. Did everybody collect, did we do the business card thing? Okay, so if you didn't put in your business card, make sure you put in a business card before the end of the evening. We got some cool renewable energy themed giveaway items that we're gonna give away. And lastly, I'd like to introduce our moderator for this evening, the OG, the original AdkYP president and current supervisor of the town of Plattsburgh, Michael Cashman.
I don't know how I feel about that. Before I get started, I just want to put something in perspective. 2 years ago, we had the 10th anniversary of this forum, and Ryan gives me a call up, and it's always great to hear from a president of the Adirondack Young Professionals group, and he goes, "Man, can you do me a favor?" I said, "What's up, Ryan?" He goes, "Would you come out of retirement?" I said, "Retirement? How old do you think I am?" And so when he called me this year, he left out the retirement part of it, so thank you for that. But, you know, the theme of Powering the North Country really hits on a couple of different things. And I want to give the appropriate kudos before we get into the panelists. And the Adirondack Young Professionals group is a fine example of sustainable leadership. Because young professional groups, you know, the goal is that it becomes an incubator for bigger and better opportunities, that you folks become infused with other civic organizations within the companies, businesses, or self-employed and doing some really phenomenal things. So to see AdkYP in its 12th year, continuing this panel, continuing to be on the forefronts of so many great things, please give everybody involved in AdkYP a round of applause. Last but not least, Ryan himself, anybody that takes on a leadership role, you know, we all know that it takes a team, but Ryan has really been involved in many different aspects of this organization. And because the organization does have its highs, its lows, and everything in between, I just want to give him a special congratulations as he exits this role and joins the small group of us that are on the outside looking in. I guarantee that a year from now, you'll be just as proud of the incoming leadership team. So good luck to the new folks coming in as well. All right? All right, so you're not here to listen to me yammer on. You're here to listen to some phenomenal panelists, and this is how it's going to work tonight. We're going to get down the row and allow them to introduce themselves and kind of give that 1 minute or so elevator speech a little bit about what sustainable energy, what they're involved with, how they see it, really kind of cover the waterfront however they see fit. And then we're going to have some really organic conversations where we're going to go back and forth for a bit. After that, we're going to open it up to some questions. So if you have questions, thoughts, comments, if you want to find some other way to contribute to the dialogue this evening, during that portion, we're going to ask you to get involved. Fair enough? All right. So we're going to, and I've learned a long time ago, I'm not even going to do full name introductions because I'll butcher them and it'll upset people. So we're going to start right from the end. Say your name, your company, or your organization, and just give a little bit of a sense of why you're here tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Menges, and I'm with Delaware River Solar. And if you haven't heard about community solar yet, hopefully after tonight you'll know a little bit more about what we do. So first and foremost, the most important takeaway is that we do not put any equipment on your property unless you're one of our landowners. We build large-scale solar farms. We use about 10 to 20 acres of open land. We fill that open land with solar panels, and then we offload that power directly into the utility grid. Customers can save money by participating. If you sign up with us, you'll see I left a little brochure with everyone. There's a sign-up form inside. Doesn't cost you anything. But if you sign up, you get credits on your utility bill. You do need to be a NYSEG customer in this territory. We're also interconnected with RG&E, Rochester Gas and Electric, but around here you do need to be a NYSEG customer. Doesn't matter whether you own your home or rent, or you're a small business or a large business, you just need to be a NYSEG customer. You will save 10% off the utilities rate. So what happens? Each month, the utility puts credits on your bill. I happen to be a customer. So if I get 500 credits on my bill this month, 500 kilowatt hours worth of credit, if the NYSEG rate were 10 cents, instead of paying NYSEG 10 cents or $50, I would pay Delaware River Solar 10% less or $45. It's as simple as that. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up, it doesn't cost you anything to participate, and you save money, and most important, the average customer does the equivalent of taking their car off the road for the life of the project, which is 20 to 30 years. And that's what you want to think about for the future of this area, our children, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys reaching out and asking us to be here. We're thrilled to be working on a project with the town of Plattsburgh and hope to have a project here soon and would love to meet you all afterwards.
Thank you.
Hey folks, I'm Trevor Cole. I'm the Senior Planner and Director of Planning and Community Development at the town of Plattsburgh. So whether you like it or not, all the development that you see around you, commercial and industrial, that's happened over the last 10 years, has come through our office, been reviewed by me, and the good stuff and the bad stuff. We have a great deal of concern at the town about energy systems, sustainable energy, resilient energy, having it be reliable for not just development. Nice jobs and careers are great, but so is life safety. Just as kind of a thought experiment here, I think a few days ago we had a 2-hour power outage. That was, 5,000 people in the town or so affected. That affected all of Route 3, the commercial corridor, for 2 hours. There wasn't a cash register ringing. There wasn't a stoplight working. We had our water and sewer departments out running water pumps and sewer systems from generators. All that critical infrastructure that's none of us want to live without it anymore. I can promise you that. So the idea of where our energy is coming from, how consistent it is, and how reliable it is, and how compatible with environmental and ecological systems it is incredibly important to us, as well as how it's delivered, even the way our streets are laid out. That's energy distribution. So that's my role at the town. As just a dude, I also have quite an interest in energy systems. I don't look at it anymore, but I'm the token hippie here because I live in geodesic domes and I have solar in my house and a hydro turbine and I'm off the grid and I just planted my garden yesterday. So I get to play that role too, which is kind of fun, and I have a different perspective on how to use energy and energy consumption. And I'll compost the rest of my thoughts.
My name is Brian Riley. I'm a technician at Fuse Energy. We're a new startup company that's doing fusion energy research and development. So when we crack fusion, it's going to be a clean, powerful, renewable energy source. And the science has matured to the point that hitting that break-even energy in equals energy out, we're tantalizingly close. So Fuse Energy is aiming to be the ones who crack it. So we're platforming a variety of different fusion concepts. We're focusing on we're focusing on concepts outside of the mainstream. A lot of the big money right now is in these gigantic billion-dollar reactors, but there's a lot of unexplored territory in systems that are smaller, more compact, a little bit more affordable, and more efficient. So we're doing research and development in those, looking to crack that barrier, and when we do so, it's going to be a revolution in energy production.
My name is Paul Pavone. I'm with Ducted Wind Turbines. I'm one of the co-founders. We're through Clarkson University in Potsdam, New York. The Ducted turbine has been around for a long time, started in the 1920s, but no one has made it profitable or even could commercialize it. My partner is Ken Visser, who's an aeronautical engineering professor at Clarkson. And when we started the company together, we didn't even really start the company per se. We basically came in and looked at the technology because small wind had not been very profitable, and it really wasn't, the economics weren't working. So when I looked around, we kind of said, there are no small wind turbines. Mike Berge had some out, and there just weren't very many. Why? So we approached it, and we went to NYSERDA and pitched what we thought we could do, and also, so they funded us to basically do a feasibility study. We came back through Clarkson University, through the engineering, and realized this can happen. So, if you put a duct, and I put a handout in, but when you put a duct, we have one at Clarkson up and running. It's basically an airfoil like an airplane wing. So it pulls air through. So we can produce twice the energy as an open-bladed system. Now these are small wind turbines. They're not like the big ones you see in Chattagate or in the North Country. So when we did this program, we were the first ones basically to systematically engineer a wind turbine that had the blades were designed to be within a duct. And we wind tunnel tested it in Waterloo, in the University of Waterloo in Canada, and it worked. Now, is it going to work in the environment? Well, we just installed one at Clarkson on a rooftop, which isn't the best environment for it, but we did it. So now we have Department of Energy's interest. Now we have NYSERDA's interest. So we've been to NRAIL, which is the National Renewable Energy Lab, and Department of Energy in Colorado, and they basically said, let's move this forward. So how does this affect the Adirondacks? I'm originally from here. I've left here and come back, and as Mike was talking about people leaving, you guys are nuts. This is a great place. I've lived all over the United States. This is a great place to live and raise kids as you get older. When we looked at it through Nexus New York and NYSERDA was basically to determine, you know, we're going to create twice the power and we're going to do it at half the price as an open-bladed wind turbine. Okay, that works. So who's our target market? And residential wasn't at the beginning when we did our study. It might be now a little bit more, but it was agriculture. We have a lot of ag up here. We also have a lot of farms, you know, areas, dairy, and we found that 22% of the energy that dairy farmers use is ventilation fans. Now, we're not going to power a farm, but we can put energy in to do the fans, to do tenant housings and things like that. Second was, we are in Potsdam, which is, I believe it's like a sister city, a village, I guess, smaller than Plattsburgh, but we can, you know, we want to create jobs, and so that's what we'll be doing there. And from there, I'd like to, I do live in Plattsburgh now, so I'd like to do something over here where we can get into a facility. I was talking to Michael about it, we can get in a facility here and do our manufacturing. We buy no products out of China. Our product of what we make, the duct, the aluminum, everything but our generator, which comes from Spain, our permanent generator, everything is from New York State. And that's really important that we have the quality. So I can fill you in on more if you like that. On here, I did notice, this is a new one. Trevor asked me, I guess you guys aren't a startup anymore when you raise $1 million, but on here it has us listed at Ducted Wind Turbines. We were Ducted Turbines International. We are now Ducted Wind Turbines, and I don't even think this website's being created right now. So I do have a website where you can go see everything and see the technology, and we show the data where we are producing it and the cost. So thanks. Thank you. And thank you for having me. This is great.
Hello, I'm Linda Brianza. I'm with China Electric. We've been installing solar for about 16 years now here in Plattsburgh. I'd like to say, as well as solar is environmentally friendly, it is also an investment. There's a lot of tax advantages of going solar. There is currently a 30% federal tax credit that you can receive on your taxes, and that's a credit, not a deduction, on the federal, and up to $5,000 on New York State. And so between the federal and the state and NYSERDA rebate, you can probably realize over a 50% savings on the cost of going solar. Now, we do solar on your home, on a little different than community solar. I think community solar is great for some applications, and then other applications, if you want to do it on your home, you can realize all those excellent advantages and eliminate them entirely and get, as I said, better than 50% of the cost of the system, have the federal and the state pay for the system. It's connected to your home, and now they're actually getting better with the batteries, so you can almost do a hybrid system. It costs a little bit more, but the battery technology is getting better and better every day. So an advantage of having it on your home, you can eventually have basically a battery backup system or a hybrid system. And hopefully eliminate your bill. So if you have any questions at the end of the panelist here, please come and see me. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sean Lucas. I'm with Casella Waste. I'm the leader of the management team at the Clinton County landfill. And what Casella does is offer resource solutions for customers in the collection, disposal, and transfer aspects of the solid waste business. Specifically why I'm here is because solid waste degrades over time and generates greenhouse gases such as methane. And what we operate are environmentally sound locations for those waste materials, as well as collection systems that can turn those waste gases into energy. So regionally, Casella Waste has the ability to power 27,000 homes, and locally we have the ability to power 3,000.
You can hold on to the microphone down there for now.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, let's give Casella a little shout out for the swag bag, all right? All right, but that kind of leads me to one of the first questions. Lots of communities across the country are considering things like straw bans, plastic bag bans, plastic bottle for water. And keep in mind, folks, that people that sell bottled water are not in the water business, they're in the plastic bottle business, really, if you think about it. So my question to the panel, and not everybody has to answer, is what do you think government should be doing to better assist efforts for a more sustainable future? What do you think government should do to assist a more sustainable future?
Very good question, really good question. Ducted wind turbines wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have moved it out of a startup if it wasn't for our government associations, okay? Not just NYSERDA in that. Just recently we joined what's called, what Linda was talking about is we're both what's called distributed generation, which means we're behind the meter. We offset retail pricing, right? So we went down to Washington, D.C., we joined the Distributed Wind Energy Association, we went into Congress, and we're able to talk. And this is where all you young entrepreneurs and people can jump in and get educated, is they didn't know what we were talking about. Think about that. These are people that we elect. They didn't really know. So we had an opportunity to educate them, to talk to them, and also do presentations about solar, you know, what Linda's company's doing and what other people are doing, what we want to do, and how we combine solar and small wind together. What's really fortunate is limited conversation I had with Michael before was he gets it. He understands that this will work right here, and it creates jobs, and it's very important that we work together and do projects together. So there's projects that we can go get funding for where a private company can team with a university and with, say, a municipality and get funding to do projects so we can now convert over to alternative energy. Or as Casella is the same, I was approached by Casella out of Maine, I think, to put wind and solar on landfills. Well, we have closed landfills here too, so very important, that program.
I know you asked about like what can the federal government do. They are doing a lot, and they have done a lot already as far as the incentives. I mean, it's 30% off of your cost of your system is a great incentive, and as well as New York State 25% up to an additional up to $5,000. And then NYSERDA, as well as you had mentioned, it does decrease every year. Right now, it's about, for a residential system, it's about 35 cents a watt. But as I said, when you purchase a system for your home, better than 50%, 55% of the cost of the system is being paid somehow federally or state. So they are doing that, and the incentives are dropping next year. It'd be nice if they weren't dropping. I guess if they could maybe look into not dropping that I guess I would say is what maybe the governments could do. Is it's not quite there for them to drop. I think it really helps right now, even though the panel prices are going down quite a bit. I think those incentives really help and make it economical for anybody to go solar.
Well, you opened up the question asking about like plastic bags and straw bans and those types of things. And as someone who back in the day I worked retail in a place that had a plastic bag ban, and I can tell you that the most common thing I hear concerning those bans is complaints about paying 5 cents for a paper bag. So this might be my scientist bias coming through, but if we just accept that there's going to be demand for stuff like disposable straws and disposable bags, the demand's not going to go away. As a scientist, this is my bias coming through, but I think putting money into research can solve a lot of those problems. Scientists have come out with biodegradable plastics, and so yeah, the first wave is always going to be inferior. I've used biodegradable forks and spoons in the dining hall at college, and yeah, they melt in hot food. It's not great, but as a couple hundred years of scientific progress has shown, the more time, effort, and money you put into fixing these problems, the better your solutions get. And so at Fuse, we rely on a lot of government money from ARPA and from some Canadian programs, because the government recognizes the importance of putting money towards these renewable projects. And if you give them enough money and you spend it smartly, and the science is sound, you'll get results eventually. And we can apply that same line of thinking to any one of these problems. If you want to talk about plastic straws, we can come up with better biodegradable plastics given enough time and money. And maybe it's a bit of a one-dimensional line of thinking, but I do think that scientific research can solve all, if not most, of those types of problems.
Can I keep my job if I answer this?
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat together, and I'd like to think that good government would be more like the crew of the ship and not the captain, where the thoughts of hopefully scientists and the folks around them, but more the community of people who want to see where the ship goes. They guide that ship, but good government is really in charge of taking care of the ship, regardless of where it's going, right? So you look at the boat and you say, it's filling up with straws. What do we do about the straws? And so you craft good policy about that problem and that issue. And same with energy. In New York State, this particular governor has proposed, well, mandated, 50% renewable energy by 2030. That's looking at the maintenance of the ship, not necessarily, where it's going. We know we have an energy issue, and large kind of policy decisions, I think, that are more concerned about the ship than where it may be going culturally are the important steps to take. That move that needle. And there's a lot of controversial things that have been choices like that over time, ethanol and gasoline. I don't think anybody would have on their own said, let's put ethanol in gasoline, but it became a requirement, and now 10% everyone's used to it, it's the norm, and it just is. And then we can do the math and debate whether it actually does save on greenhouse gas and all that, because that's controversial too. But we're all in the same boat, so my thing is let's look at the ship and where it's moving, make decisions based on that, and hopefully that's what we're going to do.
So part of the reason that I ask is often, our communities are either reactive or we turn to people to be advocates, but I prefer to use, kind of the grassroots education. So my question to all of you is, what myth or hurdle do you see in advancing a more sustainable Adirondack coast? And how do you kind of break through some of those myths? What are they? What are some of those hurdles that we're facing that people need a better education to understand either why it's necessary or why it's not as expensive, etc.?
I'll start with one that hopefully most of you in this room do not abide by, and that is we don't have enough sun. So often when I go and speak with organizations, one of the first questions I get is, how do you produce enough energy in this part of the country and this part of the world to really make a difference? And the answer is easily. So if you actually, I have this particular statistic in the brochure that I handed out, and you'll see that we compared it to Binghamton because it's a little more central to the state. But if you look at the largest producer of solar energy in the world, it's Germany. And they actually have less sun than Binghamton. So there is no question that we can produce enough energy. It might take Germany a few more solar panels to produce the same amount that we can produce in Binghamton. And depending on the difference between the climate and the weather conditions here in Plattsburgh relative to Binghamton, or where we built our first solar farms, which is down in the southern tier of the Catskills on the Delaware River, hence our name, in Calico, New York, we just need to adjust. Our engineers are very good at identifying how many panels do we need for that particular location to produce enough watts to power the number of homes that we're trying to power. So that's my, hopefully, myth buster. We definitely have enough sun.
I think a big myth in my industry is that the landfill is part of the problem, and I like to tell people that we offer a solution. We're a large anaerobic digester, we're environmentally sound, we're highly regulated and engineered, and I could go on and on about how that's built, but I think the point is that it's not quite as simple as pointing your finger at the landfill. I mean, if to touch on the first question, the impetus is kind of on who's generating the waste and how are we generating waste and why are we generating waste. What we do is take that and turn it into something useful. So I think that's a big misconception.
Anyone else have a pet peeve, a myth they want to bust? I've always wanted to be myth busters.
Well, being in fusion research, the number one misconception that we have to dispel all the time. So we say, people ask, well, what are you in? What do you do? We say, we're in fusion. They go, fusion? You mean nuclear? You mean like Chernobyl? And so I've always had to explain how it's, just because the word nuclear is involved doesn't mean it's the same thing. I don't know if you guys want to run down the science, but fusion is clean. It's not, there's no uranium, there's no radioactive waste. You start with hydrogen, and at the end you get energy and helium. It's it's a very clean and energetic process, and it is not the same as Chernobyl by a long shot.
This is the pep talk portion to make everybody feel good about themselves. The myth I'd like to bust is that we need to get on the bandwagon with green energy. Everyone here is in the county that has the longest tradition, maybe in the country, of creating green renewable energy. You'll notice you've never seen a coal-burning power plant in the North Country. There's the nearest nuclear plant, I think, is Oswego, maybe. The North Country's always been powered by hydro turbines, now wind farms, now lots of solar, and a little bit of natural gas now piped in from Canada. But that's all we've ever done, forever. We've only ever had renewable energy. Plattsburgh was founded on hydro turbines on Bridge Street. So I think everybody can feel a little better about that. We are not behind the curve at all. We started the curve long ago, and we actually just have an incredible tradition of it. And now we're doing it with large-scale solar and wind farms. So when you have that sense like, oh, man, we got to get into this renewable game. It's all we've ever done. So we have a long history of it.
Anyone else? So we are at the threshold of 2020. And anybody that's been in this market, this game, for a long time, knows that the technology is rapidly changing. I'm curious, we're not going to do the 2040. We're going to shorten it down because it seems technology is changing so fast. Where do you see us in 2025? I'm curious if anybody thinks that, that shorter span, and if you feel that you need to go out further, do so. But I'm curious, does anyone see any mile markers in a shorter time period that's going to rapidly change your industry or the overall topic of sustainable energy? I know somebody that wants.
Well, the long-standing joke in fusion is that it's always 30 years away, but as kind of I said in my intro, the science in fusion has made a lot of progress, and especially lately, interest has been picking up again because we're getting really close to that break-even energy point, and that's the barrier to break. As soon as we hit that break-even where energy in equals energy out, it's all uphill or downhill from there. And so 2025 might be a little close, but 2030, 2040, it's not unreasonable to say that we could crack fusion by then. And when that happens, it's the power output of a nuclear plant that's completely clean, completely renewable. It'll be a very sudden and very dramatic change to clean energy.
What I was going to say now, I was listening to his fusion thing. I was like, wow, that's interesting. I really want to talk to you after. This is good stuff. There's a paradigm shift happening right now, and utilities have been deregulated so much that they really don't, the power is coming. You want to take control of your own energy. Everyone does, right? So what's happening now is on the perimeter of all the utilities, where behind the meter, where you can control it and put your solar on your house or on a stand, or have a small wind turbine if you're in a rural area. That shift's happening. So things are changing. There's a paradigm shift right now where renewables will be dictating where we go. So it's happening. I don't know if you're seeing it enough, but in some states it's happened. The city of Los Angeles recently, another huge company, Sunrun, I've been talking to the CEO of that company. What they're doing is they're proposing solar on all the roofs in the city of Los Angeles. People are like, wow, another of these myths. That'll never happen. Well, what do you do when you turn the city into a microgrid? And every housetop, because they have a lot of sun, is creating their own energy that powers the city. So that's outside the box thinking, and those are what we need to do. That's basically it's happening. There's no doubt about it. Because if everyone right now had an electric car and plugged it in, we'd bring the grid down. And electric cars are coming, and they're here. So we have to be ready for that. So we have to have power at your home. And I've looked at systems where they're taking hydrogen basically out of the water in the home system. So that's not far-fetched. The Japanese are doing it now. So this can happen here. It'll definitely happen in the Adirondack area, Plattsburgh.
Well, our governor has this big goal for 2040. He wants 100% carbon-free electricity and 70% renewables by 2030. So he is definitely pushing renewables in New York State. And the price, and not so much the price, but I'll get to that in a second, but the efficiency of the panels are changing every single day. They're constantly getting more efficient. A panel I will buy today, I can't even get in 6 months because the efficiency has gone up. If I put a 9,000 watt system on your home and took this footprint, I might have put 250 watt panels on there. I'm selling 325 watt panels today. So on that same exact footprint, I can put maybe 13,000 watts instead of 9,000 watts, which is definitely driving down the cost of the installation per watt. So I think that, and then coupled with the batteries that will be coming, basically will make you a little bit more independent and not rely so much on the utility grid. So I think it's definitely investment. It's definitely something that's here and something that everybody should be looking into.
I think our industry is pretty stable. Everyone's generating waste on a daily basis. I think if we continue to come up with those innovative solutions for plastics and things that do biodegrade, you would actually see an increase in energy production for the same setup that we have now.
So at this point, we're going to go to some questions in our audience. Who's got a question? If you could stand up and just say your name, and then you can ask it to a panelist or the entire group.
Prepared to stand up.
Yeah, I know.
My name's Nikki Buck, and I was just wondering, is it from Triangle? What's your name again?
Linda.
Linda, you spoke a little bit about the batteries that are coming. Can you talk more about that?
Well, there have been batteries around for quite a while now. In fact, Trevor, right down there, lives off grid. He can probably tell you a little bit more about batteries and living off grid than I can. So, but yeah, they're becoming more and more popular and getting more technology and less. Right now, they're still a bit expensive to add to your system. They're about $10,000 maybe to add to it. But what's nice about the battery is you could do a hybrid, or you could totally go off the grid. The hybrid is where you're still connected to the grid, but in the case of a power outage, you would have your battery storage that would take over if the grid went down. Right now, if you don't have a battery and the grid goes down, you're going down too, even though you do have solar. And that's because you are connected to the grid. And the only way of getting around that is the batteries. But they've been very expensive up until, and they're still expensive now, but the technology is getting better and better every day. And the incentives are getting better too, as well as putting batteries in.
Other questions? Yep. And the reason I'm asking you to stand is so you can hear the sound in the room. We need your voice to carry. Perfect.
My name is Laura. I want to get away from the individual homes and more to small businesses. We have a big problem with the cost of things in small businesses, especially more deep into the Adirondacks where I am. And the upfront costs. What are businesses doing to help these upfront costs? Even like plastic straws. I work in the food service industry and they're expensive. So that's another food cost on me, where I'd rather just use my plastic because of the cost of the items. So what are we doing to keep those costs and get them back down lower, where it's affordable for these small businesses?
You need to be able to switch over to RE, right? To get to renewable. Yeah. Good question. Solar is a great example of that. A while ago, when we did some of our studies, we found that it wasn't about people saying, well, hey, let's help the environment. We all get that. It was the economics. If it costs too much, I'm not doing it. I don't care if the solar panels do it whatever, if they cost too much. Well, solar is a great example because technology has brought it down. The price of solar is really affordable. No charge. It really is, because solar, when we started Ducted Wind, we looked at it as solar was a complement to us. We will build a hybrid system. Solar is a competition. So that's how you have to look at it too. So when small wind, what we did is we looked at the solar industry. We kind of looked at it because it wasn't affordable. I mean, would you pay $90,000 for a small wind turbine that's going to power 60% of your house? No. So that was an issue we started with. And so our task was, how do we bring that cost down? Because if we can create twice the energy out of a small wind turbine, but it costs twice as much, we didn't do anything. So your question's a good one, because that's exactly how we started our company, and a lot of other things, but that was a main reason, was let's bring that cost down to where it's affordable. But how do you do that? That's where the governments and different agencies and stuff all team to help us do that. So technology drives it, there's no doubt about it. The universities, I was recently at RIT, they had a rack of batteries, and I didn't even know what it was, but it was a big rack. And the guy told me, he goes, oh, that's the battery rack from underneath a Tesla car. Because once the Tesla battery pack, don't quote me on this, but I think when it gets down to like 40% used, they're done. Tesla takes them out and a new rack goes in. Now what do you do with those batteries? So at RIT Electrical Group, they're looking at how do we turn that into powering homes. So that rack system can be taken apart, reuse those batteries, come into where Linda would be selling those someday, hopefully on a wall rack system at your house. Or in businesses, we've had companies approach us and said, we can't let our server room go down if the grid goes down. It can't happen. We have to have this up and running. So we've looked at that with wind and solar and a battery pack system. Carnegie Mellon just came out with research where they're doing a saltwater battery, and it's on the market now, and Bill Gates is funding it. So it's happening, you know. So that in the Adirondacks, you know, up here it seems like, you know, it seems like at times people think we're not at the cutting edge. We are. Clarkson is a top 10 engineering school in the United States. So there's some high-tech engineering going on there and working with in the North Country, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. I want to do a spin-off question, if you don't mind, because sometimes you do hear this, that younger professionals are kind of socially driven based upon where they shop, where they eat. By show of hands, have you ever consciously made a decision to buy a product because it was renewable or supported a renewable cause? You've spent a little bit more money in that marketplace because of that. That's really interesting, because, you know, and I don't think it will directly relate to everything that you're saying, because if you're buying the fork, the straw, the napkin, and everything, and, you know, your entire price point goes up. But within this group here at large, I do find that rather fascinating, that people are being a lot more mindful of, yeah, I'll spend a little bit more if I know that the product or the business is supporting it. So, other questions? Way in the back.
Not to make a pun, but I have sort of a battery of questions. How is cost per watt affecting your total market share of energy provided in the community?
You want to say it again louder, please?
How does cost per watt affect your total market share of energy provided to the local community?
That's a great question. That was the metric that we used, was cost per kilowatt hour, right? That was the metric when we looked at it. Was if people can get their power for 14, 15 cents off utilities, what does it matter if I come in even at a lower price at 25 cents a kilowatt hour, right? So who cares, right? And that's why it was interesting with everyone who raised their hand, because you're looking. You guys are looking, and that was really important to us when we started with the wind turbine, was cost. Our metric was cost per kilowatt hour, because that's what you pay. That's what, when you get we're behind the meter, what they call distributive wind or distributive solar power. So it's behind the meter. So we're offsetting retail pricing, what the utility would charge you at your house. So I don't know if that answers that part, but
to me it sounds like there's one person up there that's actually beating fair market value, and they're using the existing infrastructure to do it and sell credits. And the rest it's an investment, which is excellent, which leads me to my next question. How is an investment worth it for a homeowner besides just for environmental reasons?
go ahead. Yeah, that's,
Well, if you were to purchase solar, you would be eliminating your bill. So within...
Is the mic on?
Did it get clicked? Yep.
Hello?
turn it off and on.
Screen.
Doesn't seem like it's...
Maybe the battery died.
Speak loud and we'll try to fix.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember where I was at now, sorry. As far as solar, you could probably, on a homeowner's, you could probably see about a 7 to 8 year return on your investment doing solar. So if you were to purchase a system, as I said, you get about 50 to anywhere from 50 to 60% of the cost of the system. So you have to, it's an investment, so it isn't upfront. But after about 7, 8 years, you don't have a bill anymore. You're not paying electricity anymore. The sun is powering your home, and that is your return on investment. So as far as your kilowatt hour, it's zero now, except for the utility that your $15 a month utility cost just to be connected to the grid. And
but you have to have that money up front, and there's batteries that at some point will have an environmental impact.
yes,
Whereas if you're buying credits that are going through existing infrastructure, you don't have that additional environmental impact or the maintenance costs.
the maintenance costs on solar are very minimal. You pretty much put the system up, there's not much you have to do. The panels are warranted for 25 years, and maybe they'll lose maybe 5% of, how they were producing from the time you had put them in. So that's very minimal. And even here, as far as a myth, with the sun and stuff, yeah, you'll get some snow on them, but a day or so later, they're going to be gone. The systems I'm putting in and the price that I'm putting them in, as I said, you can see a return on your investment. I mean, where are you going to get that return on investment anyplace else? You're not talking environmental, you're talking investment is what your question was. And you could put your money in the bank and make 0.01%. You could put your money in the stock market and maybe you'll make money, maybe you'll lose money. This is a guaranteed investment. This is money that you're putting back in your pocket every single month because it's money that you're not paying to the utility. And guess what? You're not paying taxes on that money you're making. The money that you're making from putting in the stock market, anything you make, you're paying taxes on. So it's definitely a good investment, and you're going to get down to zero for your kilowatt hour.
Not to pick on you, but, so it sounds like buying solar for your residence on its own, it's kind of like buying a computer or a car. It's a significant depreciation if the technology is new every 6 months.
No, not at all, because it's still working. It's not something that's not going to work. It's still going to work for, as I said, it's warranted for 25 years, but it's going to work way beyond that. So just the technology, you're not losing your technology. When I said it's getting more efficient, it just means I can put more in that same footprint, but it doesn't mean your system is getting any less efficient.
And for everybody, if there's nobody else that has a question, I have a battery of questions.
Hold on for one. I want to go down to the other end and allow for her to give some additional perspective on some of the similar questions, okay? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I would just share Linda's enthusiasm for rooftop. One thing that's really important, and I think the wind gentleman said it as well, there's not a competition between rooftop solar and community or wind and solar. The point is you need to be looking at something. And so if your home or property are suitable for rooftop solar, awesome. You will save way more money. But the majority of people in this country do not have a home or property that is suitable for rooftop solar. That's just a known fact, right? So if you look into rooftop solar and for whatever reason it isn't the best situation for you, maybe you're gonna move. In my case, my husband and I are just starting our retirement very soon. And so I joke and say we wouldn't get the benefit of it. Either our daughter would or whoever we sell our home to would. And so community solar is that wonderful alternative because it doesn't cost you anything. There's no investment, there's no cost whatsoever. You pay less to have it installed, but you should look at rooftop or wind or anything else if that's something that if you have the ability and the timeline to make an investment like that, you absolutely will save much more. But community solar is this awesome alternative for the rest of, I think it's like 75% of people do not have a location that is suitable to a rooftop system. So that's the only thing I'll do.
All right. Let me ask if there's any other questions before I go back to you, Mr. Battery. Go ahead.
I'm Megan. As young professionals, a lot of us in this room are either new to home ownership or plan to own a home very shortly. I was just wondering if I were to put solar or maybe small wind on my property, would that increase the value of my property down the road when I try to resell?
Yes, they say yes, because I guess if you put two homes side by side, and I'm going to buy a home, and this home has solar, and I'm not going to pay electricity on this, or this one doesn't, yes, it's supposed to increase the property value of your home, just like if you were to put a new kitchen in or anything like that, so yes.
I'd also add that due to a quirk in tax law, New York State exempts solar and wind energy systems on homes. Local municipalities can opt out of that exemption, but what the point I'm getting at is your property value may go up when you sell it, but your assessment may not when you install it. So there's a mechanism, again in New York State, somewhat unique, to promote people to do this, where you may put a $30,000 system on your house, but your house won't increase by $30,000 in assessed value, meaning you won't pay the increased tax assessment. Valuable tool. Some communities have opted out of it, so it's good to know whether you have that in your community or not. But the nice part is, when you go to sell it, your house is maybe not worth $30,000 more, maybe it's worth $22,000 more based on that.
One more question, and then we'll get back to the battery. Question over here. Go ahead.
It's actually to Trevor. I wonder if you just tell everybody about what you have at your home and some of the highs and lows that you may experience in living off the grid.
Okay, so I have a very small system, so my life's based around being a little conscious about how much energy I use, but I have a very small system, so I'm often baffled by people's consumption of electricity. With these grid-tied systems that are 8,000, 10,000 watts, I have 3 250-watt solar panels. And I have 2 kids, and we have computers and a flat-screen TV, washers and dryers, and I also have a micro-hydro 24-volt system that turns this little turbine this big. And granted, I don't run an electric cook stove. We have propane, so some of those high-draw consumption devices we don't use very much. And I turn lights off when I leave the bathroom. But we have a very small system, but it's well matched for our needs. And I think consumption and efficiency are the 2 primary items of concern that we should probably look at more than how can we create green energy. It's kind of pointless to create a lot of green energy. It's if you're using it to say, I have a battery-powered tractor that cuts down all the trees in the forest. Woo! What's the impact of your green energy? So it matters what you do with it. I have this little quirk of our system because it's a micro hydro turbine. Unlike if I was just solar, I can go to bed, get up in the morning, and my batteries are charged because the water moves 24/7. So that's unique to me. I get to watch more movies at night, and wash my socks at night too, and not worry about my batteries going dead. I do want to say something about batteries too, because I think looking at the general scope of impacts is important. Because how green is my system if I'm chucking a battery every 10 years? I liked Isaac's questions because the painful ones kind of get to the heart of really, are we going to solve any issues, or are we, dancing around them to feel good? But the issue with, say, lead acid batteries, they sound scary, but I'm the granola guy, and they're probably the single most recycled at like a 99.9% recycle rate of all consumer electronics, and they've been around since the 1800s. So a lead acid battery is completely recyclable. Even the acid in it is like added neutralizer, and it's basically water. So the batteries themselves are highly recyclable. Lithium-ion and those type of technologies, I'm not sure. I stick with the old school because it's really just consistent. It's been around forever. You can come visit if you want to. Check it out.
We're going to do 2 more questions, and then we're going to do a wrap-up. So I'll toss one to you, and then first one to Stan. I'll get the, okay? Go ahead.
I just have a little more kind of fun for each of the panelists. Trevor, I appreciated that answer immensely. That was a great answer. For each of the panelists, what do you think the cost per watt needs to be or be reduced by for your particular form of green energy to acquire a market share that's majority? And which one do you think is going to arrive there first?
Oh, sorry.
Good question. That was part of our research also. That's a really good question. When we met with NYSERDA, they basically, as far as incentives, they said, what can you get the cost per kilowatt hour down to with a wind turbine that we don't need to give you any incentives? Well, that's a tough question when you're starting into a new area. And I said, well, we do need it at the beginning to get going. As technology drives it down and we get our technology where it is, we can get the price there. So we look at it as utility rates are pretty low in the United States overall. I mean, they really are. I mean, I think this area might be 12 or 13 cents a kilowatt hour. So we looked at a 5-year payback, and I can get the cost per kilowatt hour down right now. We're at 6.6 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's getting into production though. On a one-off, I'm probably around 14 to 16 cents. So our goal was to get it down that low. How low? I mean, the ducted turbine is designed for low wind regimes, right? So it can be on a 60-foot tower, not really high, and we can start getting energy, not a lot, but we can get some energy at a lower wind speed. So hopefully that helps. It's all about cost per kilowatt hour, right? Sure.
I don't know of having an actual price to give you for what we get down to. I guess it's what do you want your return on investment to be, I guess. As I mentioned earlier, it was about 7 or 8 years right now. What does a homeowner want it down to, I guess, is what do you want it to be, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, what's the year, what's that going to be that's going to be your turning point to say, yeah, this is what I want going to be. And I guess that would be getting the panel prices down lower. We still have the installation cost, which, labor prices go up all the time. The panel prices are definitely going down, and as I said, per square foot, you're getting more on it. So the exact answer to your question, I don't have. I don't know what it is because I don't know what that would be. I guess it's up to you, in anybody's mind. What do you want your return on investment to be? What is it? I want to have a return 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, I guess, is what you have to think about. But I go back to, it's still a great investment because you're not going to make it in the bank or in the stock market.
I don't have a great answer to that question either. What our system does is maintain greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere, so we actually have to run 24/7, so we never turn it off. So the cost doesn't necessarily matter. Obviously, we want to do it as efficiently as possible, but it's to everyone's benefit to keep those things running.
It's a kind of a funny question for me, because where a lot of my fellow panelists are behind the meter, to borrow a phrase, we're looking at more of we're in front of the meter. We're looking at the supply side of that energy question. And I'll qualify this by saying that I'm on the physics side more than the economic side, but I can throw some rough numbers at you that imagine a train car full of hydrogen, which hydrogen is pretty easy to get, relatively speaking. That train car of hydrogen has about, when we're talking fusion, it has about the same amount of energy density as an entire train full of coal. So basically, fusion power has the energy density and energy output potential of conventional nuclear without any of those downsides. So when fusion becomes commercially viable and breaks onto the market, you're looking at the price of energy dropping like a rock, basically, because there'll be plenty to go around. It'll be cheap, clean, and easy to make.
This is me making a statement I'm totally unqualified to make. I think there is no moment at which price of renewables will make them the majority, because I don't think it has anything to do with whether they're renewable or not. It's a demand-based and capital market. So, thought experiment, I like to do that by now. I don't believe there's any evidence to show that when all of the wind turbines were installed in the northern tier, that a coal-burning power plant shut down. What that did was meet market demand. It doesn't matter who's making it. Electricity is a product. And so the philosophical side, as I'm getting at, we got to worry about the boat we're on together, and that renewables aren't going to take the market share. If coal will meet demand, given our current market, our demands, and how we do industry, we'll just keep making more electricity, because what we're doing right now is making products, and we have markets that consume electricity. When you make electricity cheaper by making more wind turbines or solar arrays, if you drive the price down, what happens? Another factory opens to create more stuff, to create more demand for more resources, to create more solar panels and more. So as long as we have demand and a capital market for energy consumption, it's not going to matter where it comes from. We have to make a conscious choice to make it ecological.
I would add, but then hopefully those factories are producing solar panels here in the United States that are efficient and economical. So, but I would say on both solar fronts, my answer would be 3 or 4 years. Even in my about to retire state of life, I would put a solar system on my property if it was 3 or 4 years. The fact that it's 7 or 8 is what holds me back. And I do have a parcel that would be a great candidate. On the community solar side, I think it's 25%. If we could get the price at a 25% discount, how many people in this room would say no? That's good, okay. So at 10% though, people look at me and say, oh, it's just 10%. But what I try to remind folks is, if you care about the environment, if you care about climate change, if you care about renewable energy, you may be subscribing to a renewable source like wind out of Arizona. And if you are, kudos, but you're paying extra for it. So you're paying $5 a month extra, you're paying 5% more, you're paying more. There is rarely ever an alternative where you would pay less. This is a locally produced responsible alternative at 10% less.
And if this guy gets it right, everything we said's wrong.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and I just wanted to add real quick. That was a great point that electricity is a product, and when you plug something into the wall, there's no sticker there that says, this electricity was sustainably produced. But that's kind of why I was talking about things like energy densities, because the wall outlet doesn't care where the electricity is coming from, but so if you really want a coal plant to shut down, you have to beat it on the economic game. And for a traditional fusion generator, the fuel is deuterium, which guess what? You can get it out of seawater. And it's does anyone off the top of their head know the price of coal these days? It's probably more than hydrogen. So again, if we crack fusion, then on that same economic game that you're talking about, fossil fuels lose.
Yay.
All right, last question. All right.
So I'm asking this on behalf of the agricultural market, in which a lot of these solar platforms are being developed on. In my home community, they had a solar organization approach them and asked for 900 plus acres of what is actually usable farmland, not unusable farmland, but actually in production farmland and farmland that can be cultivated for further cash crops. And as this is a massive agricultural market, you're asking farmers to sacrifice 10 plus or more acres towards what would be their income. And we're dealing with an environment where milk prices are falling, they're not stable, and they need that land to cultivate cash crops, to feed their animals, to maintain living in their own homes or being sustainable in their own right. They passed a moratorium to prevent that solar project from ever coming to fruition in this community so far that I know of right now. But as I like the idea of community solar, but you're asking farmers to sacrifice, or you're asking large landowners, primarily farmers, to sacrifice land towards those ends and those needs. Yes, if they do so willingly, that's okay and great for them, but that could affect our economy and their resources in the long run. What is the justification for utilizing that property? And in addendum to that, there's 50 acres behind my house, which I looked on a tax map labeled as wasteland. Can you clarify what, if possible, why it's listed as a wasteland piece of property if it cannot be cultivated, why we don't use resources like that towards building these projects on in the future? So,
Okay. Great question. I think predominantly my answer would be that the land is really being preserved. So it's not being used for some other commercial use, it's not being industrialized, some would say that it is, but it's being preserved. So we pile drive our racking systems, there's no cement in the ground. That land, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, however many acres it is, will be used for agriculture at any point in the future if chosen to. We also provide decommissioning standards and payments to the communities that we build in, so that, for example, if we as a business were to, go belly up and the community wanted to decommission the solar farm, they have the funds set aside to do that. So there's no cost to the community, no cost to the taxpayers. It is a benefit to the landowner, of course, but they absolutely have that choice. We do not strong arm any landowners. We work in a very positive relationship with the municipalities that we work in and the landowners that we work with. So it's their choice to find a revenue stream for their land for the interim. Doesn't mean that it can't go back to being agricultural land afterwards. And the other thing that I would add that I think is really important is, if you're not aware, we use most of our solar farms as agricultural land after they're developed. We have sheep grazing on both our Bear Road Solar Farm in Callicoon and our Turner Road Solar Farm in Loma, New York. And if you haven't seen that, go to our Facebook page, you'll see the pictures. So we have sheep, we have bees, we're looking at pollinator-friendly environments. Obviously, we can't graze the sheep on the same plots of land where the pollinator-friendly environments are, because they'll eat that as easily as they would eat the grass. But So they are still being cultivated in many cases, and our hope is to have agriculture on every single solar farm. Whether it will be every single one, I can't promise, but we only have 3 live in operation right now, and 2 of them have sheep on them, and 1 has bees. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I'll pass to you. Thank you.
You were looking at me, weren't you?
Well, I figured you might understand more about the wasteland notation on the tax map. I mean, not that I want.
Are you in the town of Plattsburgh?
I live in the town of Plattsburgh, yes.
I didn't even know our assessor has that designation, but it may have wetlands, or it may not be tillable, or it's rocky, so it doesn't get a prime ag designation normally. And when you're being taxed, you probably want it to say that, but, so a couple thoughts. One, so 900-acre solar farm, I wrote the solar local law for the town of Plattsburgh because I was personally scared of projects like that. I'm not making an opinion of their value in the right place, but they're huge, and I consider them. I don't even though I'm a solar guy, I don't use the term solar farm personally. I call them electrical generation facilities. I like to move away from, again, I'm the hippie guy, but we don't need to greenwash electrical generation. It's a utility. It's cool. You can call it that. It can be a nice utility, but let's call it a utility. So the 900 acres, those type of projects are nothing that probably even folks like this would get into. Those are, there's a whole other component that pushes the municipality right out of the way. It's called Article 10, and it's a state legislation that basically imposes a siting board where local legislation really becomes almost nil. So I don't really want to see an Article 10 project necessarily either, because we would have less control. So those type of projects aren't likely to be, I can only speak for the town, but here we don't have a lot of 900 acre open areas. And the wasteland designation as well, if it's brushy and that type of thing, yeah, I think those are the best places for solar. The problem is prime ag lands have this magical component of always being where utility easements are as well, because the farmers did all this work 300 years ago to clean these beautiful fields, create all these rock walls that make my back hurt every time I see them, made all this nice open land, and then where's the easiest place for a utility to go 230 years later? Right through the farm field. So you get this marriage later, 300 years later, of farm fields and utility pathways, and then where you have this land that would be, I made a map of potential properties in the uptown where I thought this utility could go out of concern. But so unfortunately, where lands are scraggly, not so great, were never tilled and opened and cleared, utilities are usually not there as well. So the interconnect couldn't happen. So sometimes the wasteland just isn't feasible for those reasons. But individual property designations I can't speak to, but there is this whole land development history that just ties these properties together.
So we're going to wrap up here and pass this off to Ryan in just a moment. But I do want to, we closed up questions.
And this solar farm they're talking about is at my house, my farm. And I can't make a living on ag products, but I sure can make a living on leasing it to solar farms.
So in wrapping up today's thing, there's a couple of things that I want to put out there for you folks to consider. First and foremost, I'm excited about the passion that's in this room. On a beautiful day when the sun was out, you were inside consuming more information, engaging, and I think that there's going to be a lot of networking that's going to occur afterwards. I'm not looking to break our arms, patting ourselves on the back, but I want to put something in context for you. Is the town of Plattsburgh became the first clean energy community designated by NYSERDA. But what really excites me is we are not the only ones. No matter where you live, here in Clinton County or beyond, I encourage you to get involved in the issues and the topics of renewable energy. As a homeowner, as a personal consumer, as a business owner that's looking to maybe make it more affordable for people to come in and buy the products that you're making, there are means and ways. The issues and concerns that we're talking about are not going away anytime soon. And we need young professionals at the forefront to be the trailblazers for the next things to come. And I'm confident that the Adirondack Young Professionals will provide the power. Thank you for being here today, and please give a round of applause for all of our panelists.
We didn't thank one person who kept us going to this evening. Let's give Mike Cashman a round of applause for all his Thanks, Mike. You're still the OG. So I get to close this sucker out with some fun here. We have some giveaways. I hope you gave up your business card. If you didn't, you have one last chance. If you have a business card with you, you didn't put one in, to Meg. We're going to try and be really fair here. Actually, Mike, come back up. I'm going to have you pick the business cards here.
So we'll close outside where the solar and no wind, just the breeze is providing us with our energy at the moment. One of the things that wasn't asked but was touched on was the fact that if you get a home solar or wind and it increases your assessed value, it's very important to understand that if we'll use the $100,000 price tag for something, which is probably high for some of these things and maybe low for others, and you're going to start paying taxes, property taxes on another $100,000 of property value, then that's going to eat up any savings you get on your utility savings. So it's very important that your community has that little stipulation that it doesn't increase your assessed property value, because it would quickly eat up anything that you're saving. Of course, when it becomes a property assessment on the person who buys it from you, then their savings will also decrease, and hopefully that'll be taken into consideration with the selling price and with the future tax assessments. But that is something that the government should be looking at more closely. If they're going to encourage people to get into solar and wind, then they can't be increasing your assessment value and just changing your tax, your energy savings into tax dollars. Because if you save $1 on your energy and spend it on your taxes, you personally are not gaining too much. So I'll wrap it up. A nice little program put on here by the Adirondack Young Professional Organization. If you are interested in learning more about them, they're always looking for young professionals for a new membership. So check them out on their website and on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Viewer supported local television, hometown cable.